Hey, everybody. So, welcome back to another episode of Intentional Improvements, where we are here to intentionally improve your life by one conversation at a time. I have somebody here who is incredibly special. He has a lot of knowledge on how to really help you get anything you want because he has a very special talent. Please welcome Dom the Hypnotist. Dom,
Wow.
thank you so much for coming to the
Yeah, thank
show.
you for having me. I love the name of the podcast. I didn't even know what the name of it was. I just knew your name was Erica. Sonia connected us, but yeah, intentional
Improvements.
improvements. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I want people to know that every time they tune into an episode, we are going to intentionally improve their life. One conversation, one episode,
Yeah.
one chat at a time. So, the last person that came on was actually a life coach where she teaches the audience how to overcome your internal and external beliefs and
Okay,
how to
cool. Yeah.
shift those. But, like I told you before the podcast, I've never met a hypnotist, don't
hmm
even know what they do. So, but, before we do that and unpack that, let's talk about you answering the call, the contribution, saying that this is what you were meant to do. So take us back to, when you were a kid all the way to now.
Yeah. So really quick, I want to say something. So one of the things you said was he can show you how to get everything you want. And the name of the podcast is Intentional Improvement. So if you go on the internet, YouTube especially, you see a lot of like manifestation stuff, right? This is how you manifest, law of attraction, blah, blah, blah. There's this technique, that technique, da, 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 da. So here's the thing about intention. 90% of manifestation and law of attraction, all that is your intention. The technique itself, like, oh, I'm going to stand on my head and I'm going to count backwards from 100 to that's really not important. What's most important is what intentions you have going into something. Anyway, so that's a little side note. So to answer your question, yeah. So my mom actually had me when she was 15 years old.
Oh, young.
So yeah, so her and my dad, they had me in there in high school. And she, when you're raised by a child, basically, right? We grew up just kind of like most people do, just struggling, poor, all that kind of stuff. Luckily, my mom did join the military when she was 18, which kind of put us on a good path. But when your parents are in the military, you're constantly moving around a lot. You're always like the new kid in school, which knowing what I know now, it really damages your kids' self-esteem because they're always not even just mentally, but also even energetically, right? Like every time you get up and move, you're pulling up your roots from where you're at, and now you're ungrounded again. So there's this cycle of just constantly moving, constantly moving. And then when I graduated high school is when I really started to get into personal development. That's when back in the day we'd listen, remember like CDs, right? And we'd put them in our car. We didn't have podcasts like we do now.
Tony Robbins cassettes.
Tony Robbins, yeah, the Zig Ziglar, the Grant Cardones, all that. And I started selling life insurance, and basically my journey from 18 to 30 was like the roller coaster. It was like highs and lows, highs and lows. I feel like most people go through in business. And yeah, and you and I were talking outside. You asked how I got into it, right? Because as you can imagine, it's not many children's childhood dream to grow up and be a hypnotist one day. It wasn't mine, that's for sure. But one day I was driving around in between my appointments, just sitting there, just thinking like, oh my God, there's got to be something else out there. I don't want to do this anymore. There's got to be another way. And my mom calls me and she's all excited. And she's like, oh my God, son, I just went to this NLP and hypnosis course and it changed my life. I feel amazing. And she's going on and on and on about it. I'm like, all right, cool, Mom. How do I sign up? All right, you call this guy, this and that and the other. And I'm like, yeah, well, how much is it? And it was like $5,000 or whatever at the time. Right. I'm like, okay, yeah, Mom, let me get back to you on that one. I'm like, let me think about this. My mom didn't know this at the time. She knows now. But a month prior, and we were having this conversation outside as well, I was so broke financially. I called up the bank. I'm like, hey, I can't make my $600 car payment. I have too much pride for you guys to come and repossess it. So I'm going to do what's called a voluntary repossession. It's where you hand them over the keys. Because I lived in my shitty apartment at the time, like, oh my God, if my neighbors see my car getting repossessed, like this is going to be so embarrassing. So I met him across the street at the Sears parking lot. I remember the tow truck driver rolling up. And it was funny because like he got out of the car and he just looked at me and he just gave me this look like, this guy's a fucking loser. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
And because I mean, look, let's be honest, I was. So it is what it is. I'm not mad at the guy, and I remember him, just taking the car away. Not only that, I had like all this credit card debt. I had like 7 credit cards, 40 something $1,000 of credit card debt. My minimum payments were like $1,200. I'm like, I can't do this. So I stopped paying everything. So Christmas of 2018, my mom actually surprised me with a hypnosis course as a Christmas gift. It wasn't the same $5,000 course she went through. It was like an introductory course. So I was like, cool, I'll go to this course and, I'll work on whatever the hell's going on that's causing this in my life.
It's like your mom knew this is what you were meant to
Oh,
do.
she for sure 100% knew. Matter of fact, at my last, so I just did an event in January here in town. It was an in-person event. And my mom came and spoke. She the very last day, she kind of almost closed it out in a way. But it was funny because she goes, my mom's done a lot of personal development and stuff, and that's where her journey of really starting to have success as I got older started. And I think that was my fifth in-person event, if I remember correctly. And I tried to get her to come and come to my events, and she's like, oh, this and that and this and that. And then when she came, she told me, she goes, oh my God, like I didn't realize this is the level you were doing this at. Like I thought, she goes, when I was coming to this, I thought, oh, I've already done this stuff before. I already know what it's about, but it was a whole different thing than what she was expecting. So yeah. So anyways, I went to this course and, becoming a hypnotist was literally the furthest thing from my mind
Mhm.
because in my mind, I thought I put hypnotists in the same category as like magicians, mentalists, ventriloquists, right? Like the little guys with the dolls and they make them talk. So that is what I associated hypnotists with. I'm like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, I went to the course with an open mind and, that's where I met Sonia. And those 2.5 days, I literally completely shifted as a person. Like, I don't know, right time, I was ready for it, whatever. And I got out of the course, as I was telling you outside, I remember looking up and going, oh my God, like, this is it. This is the thing I've been searching for all these years. And I felt like if I could help people feel like I felt in that moment and I could make a living doing it, I was like, hell, sign me up. So,
That's such a high so many people don't ever
oh yeah,
experience.
it was
And
definitely.
now I'm sure you're chasing that high over and over again through helping fulfilling other people's lives.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the greatest feelings you'll ever get is when a client gives you their testimonial, right? Like, oh my God, this changed my life. I remember this is like a year and a half ago. I always tell the story because it happened in the same day and it really gave me a perspective on how the feeling when you do get somebody that says, oh my God, thank you so much, this is what happened, versus like things that happen for ourselves. So I think it was July or June 2023. And in that day, we did $56,000 in sales, right? Which that's a lot of money to make in a day. And especially, when that would take like a whole year to make at one point, and then in a day, you're like, holy shit, right? So that happened. And then literally an hour, maybe an hour and a half later, one of my clients he's like my friend now, his name is Dr. Steve, he's a chiropractor. He messaged me a screenshot of his account, or I forget what it was. He's like, oh my God, dude, this is the biggest month I've ever had. He did like 134,000 in sales. He had been in business for 17 years and he was stuck at like the 80,000 a month mark. So essentially he 50% increased his revenue literally within a month of going through this process. And anyways, the reason I share this is the feeling that I got from him sending that message compared to the $56,000 I saw in my merchant account was like 10 times what it was when I saw the money. So yeah, helping people, it's very, very, it's very fulfilling. It feeds the soul for sure.
I love that. So, what exactly is hypnotism and how does it work?
Yeah. So most people, when they think of a hypnotist, they think of the hypnotist that came to like their high school or the state fair where they bring a bunch of people up on stage and he'll make them, bark like a dog or quack like a chicken. And that is real. That's really happening. As a matter of fact, my very first exposure to hypnosis before I even actually learned about or went to this course. When I very first moved here to Vegas back in 2017, one of the first things we did, me and my fiance, my soon-to-be wife in about 5 weeks.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, we went to a hypnosis show in Vegas at the Plant Hollywood, and I had always seen videos online of people getting hypnotized. Right, you see a guy go up and go sleep, and the guy falls, and all the stupid things you see. So I'd always thought like, man, this is premeditated, or they're actors or whatever. But when I went to this in the live hypnosis show, you're sitting 30, 40 feet away from the stage and, the hypnotist brings a bunch of people on stage and you're watching them do all this ridiculous, embarrassing things. And I'm like, oh my God, like these people are not paid actors. Like something is going on. At the time, I thought like, man, this guy's like worshiping the devil or this is black magic or some special power.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So that was my first, real introduction to hypnosis. So most people, when they think of hypnosis, they associate it with that, which that is real. That does actually happen. People do go into the state where you can make them do all these funny things. But the way that I explain that to people is like this. You have a crowd of, let's say, 100 people, right? And out of that crowd of 100 people, there's going to be probably about 30 to 40 people that raise their hand and they want to go on stage, right? So you got to think somebody who's willing to go up on stage in front of a bunch of strangers, they're already kind of like more open-minded. They're more outgoing than your average person,
Right.
right? So then the hypnotist does his little tests and things like this. And then out of those tests, they only keep the people that are like the most suggestible. And these are people that are usually the most outgoing. Like essentially, they want an excuse to act silly and be stupid, right? And so the example I always share with people, it's kind of like if you've ever been to, let's say for men anyways, back in the day when I'd go to like a bar or a nightclub or something, it's like you get there, you're sober, you see all these pretty girls, like, man, I really like to go talk to that girl, but no, I'm not, right? Or man, I really want to go dance, but I'm gonna look stupid. But after you have a couple drinks, what happens? Like you start dancing, your life of the party, you got all kinds of girls on you, right?
Yeah.
So that liquid courage alcohol gave you the courage to open up. It's kind of the same with hypnosis where that person like wants to do it. They just need to be relaxed and like let their mind kind of at ease to where they'll open up and do it. Does that make sense?
So you can't do it on a closed-minded person.
Well, not that, like that level of hypnosis where you're having people do all kinds of, humping a blow up doll or whatever. No, like that, if somebody's shut down, you can't have mind control over them and make them do it. They won't do that. Now you can still do hypnosis. Like we all go in and out of hypnosis all the time. So when you learn hypnosis, one of the things they tell you is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, meaning it's a process that we all do. So have you ever been driving on the freeway and you're in super deep thought and you're just like in a trance, you're daydreaming, and then boom, you arrive at your destination
Yes.
and you're like, holy shit, how the hell did I get here? Right?
Uh-huh.
We do it all the time. So what happened there is you went into trance, which is the same state of hypnosis. Now, the difference is when you're going into that state and you're driving, it's happening accidentally, right? It's not like it's something that you're like, okay, I'm ready to go into hypnosis. It just happens by accident. So you can use that same state of mind to access your subconscious mind to remove, get rid of memories of traumas, things that are holding you back, beliefs, reshape your mindset, program it. So that's really all hypnosis is. It's like a meditation where you use visualization and suggestions and things like this. So
That's incredible.
yeah.
Wow. So how difficult is it to hypnotize somebody?
Well, it's not difficult, especially if somebody wants to do it. It's very, very easy. It can be difficult if, again, people are not open to it. So you can still, through our language, like, let me give you an example. Now, did you notice as I paused, you hone in on me and you kind of like went into this daydream kind of state?
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice that?
Mhm.
So that's one technique you can use to start inducing somebody into trance is
Mhm.
pausing.
Mhm.
So anytime we pause or we whisper, if I whisper like this, all of a sudden it feels like it's just me and you here in the room, right? It's because you're tuned in. And then you'll even start whispering with me.
I actually did just whisper.
Is that funny? So there's that, right? Now, the other day, I was listening to this gentleman talk about his one of his mentor's students' employees gave him this story about how when you focus and you just pause and go inwards, you can realize how powerful you truly are. Can't you?
Yes.
Yes. So now come out of trance.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You back to the room now?
Wow.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that.
So I'll tell you what happened. Basically, I did, you can call it triple quoting or quadruple quoting. Triple quoting is if I say, the other day I was talking to my friend and he was telling me about his neighbor's uncle.
Mhm.
What happens is it confuses our conscious mind and we just kind of check out and go, I don't know what the hell he just said, whatever.
Yeah.
And when that happens, when you kind of confuse the conscious mind, it puts you into trance and allows your subconscious mind to open up.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's why I don't even remember what I said. I just made it up just so you can feel what that's like when you're
Yeah.
like listening, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I slowed my voice down and I use words like, now realize. Any word with RE in front of it, realize, remember, anything, revisits, relive, anything with an RE in front of it automatically causes people to go in trance. Because what happens is you have to go back into a memory, right? Relive, remember, whatever. When we kind of go back and we start accessing these memories, we start going inwards, which puts us in a trance.
Mhm.
So if you notice, and then I said, you now realize how powerful you truly are. And you kind of went, you took a deep breath and you kind of felt that in that moment. So that would be what's called conversational hypnosis, right? Where again, you can hypnotize somebody. They're not going to be dancing. I'm not going to make you like jump around and do all that, but it's more so using conversational hypnosis to, again, induce trance in somebody, whether you want to, capture their attention, use a metaphor to tell a story, help you with whatever you got going on. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. When I said the brothers, cousin, uncle, whoever, do you remember what was going on in your mind at the time?
No, I was just trying to focus on what you're like,
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
trying
like,
to figure out, like, who that person
yeah, you're
was.
like, what? And then at some point you went, okay, whatever. And then when I slowed my voice down and I just like, I looked at, and the other thing is too, when you look into somebody's eyes, there's a part of the brain, I believe it's your frontal lobe, if I'm not mistaken, where it's now captivating your attention, which will also put you in trance. So if I look into somebody's eyes, that automatically will create that connection. So if you notice, I look into your eyes, I start slowing down my voice, and then all of a sudden it's like, it just feels like it's just us here, or it felt like that.
Right.
Right. So yeah, point is, you can hypnotize people just by using your conversation, or we could do a traditional induction, which is like, okay, stare at the space, pick a spot on the wall across from you above eye level, focus on the spot, go through the whole thing. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's easy to hypnotize people once you learn how.
So, that example you were talking about where your friend, this gentleman, was stuck at $80,000 in sales and all of a
Yep.
sudden he doubled it. What happened?
Okay, I love telling this story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell because it's so mind-boggling. So in the NFL season of 2021, I was working with a client during preseason, okay? In the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting a lot of playing time. He was like fourth, fifth string or whatever. But then halfway through the season, he got his first opportunity to start. One is he's obviously putting in the work, physically doing the thing, and then we were helping him clear out a lot of his past failures and all the stuff that he'd been going through. So halfway through the season, he gets his first opportunity, right? So we jumped on our weekly session and he's like, yo, man, this is my first start. I'm super nervous. So if there's anything we haven't done yet, like now's the time to do it, right? Just throw the kitchen sink. So I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll take the plays of the other team because when you're in the NFL, they want to do their best to try to predict what the other team's going to do. So they'll watch film and they'll get like, oh, when it's trips wide, they're going to do a slant or whatever, right? So he had this, log of what he was supposed to be studying. So what we did is I took all the plays, I put him in a hypnosis recording and had him listen to it while he was sleeping throughout the night, just put it on loop, right? Now, what was interesting is before we did this, I didn't even know this was going to work. I had no idea. And I told him, I said, I don't know, but I've heard that this whole sleep hypnosis thing, it like programs your mind while you're sleeping. So let's try it. Now, I've been doing hypnosis up until this point for 2 years, and I still didn't believe in sleep hypnosis, right? Because you're sleeping. How can this actually make an effect? So anyways, I said, it's not going to hurt. Let's do it. So he listened to it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He goes out and plays on Sunday. Had a freaking great game, messaged me afterwards. And he's like, dude, not in high school, not in college or even the pros, I've never been more in tune with what the other team was going to do. It's like I knew what they were going to do before they did it.
What?
Right? Yeah. Because it's just, even though you're sleeping, his subconscious mind is just hearing on loop over and over the plays, right? So now he's going in, because one of the challenges that people, if you're in a professional or at least football, again, you got to memorize the playbook of the upcoming team every single week.
Mm.
So if you're out there and you're like, wait, even if it's a split second, oh, we're in four wide receivers and it's third down and short. Fuck, are they going to go long? Are they going to run the ball? Like that causes that little hesitation. But if you know exactly everything, now you can go in there 100% confident and it's like you're predicting what's going to happen, right? So then after that, I was like, all right, shit. I was like, thank God it worked, right?
Experiment.
Yeah, I was like, oh, at some point, that's what a lot of it is. You're just experimenting with new things. So I was like, all right, cool. This sleep hypnosis stuff works. So maybe a month later or so, I found this video and it was all about manifesting success and abundance, manifesting money, right? And it was funny because it was a YouTube video and it had millions of views and literally thousands of comments. So I'm reading the comments and people are like, I started listening to this and I made 10 grand this week, or I started listening to this and 40,000 this month. And I started but it was hundreds of comments, and my skeptical mind was like, this dude probably, this is like some bot thing, which people really do. They
Yeah.
pay for bots and stuff. So I'm like, this has got to be bots. There's no way this many people are having this much success. So I was so skeptical. I was like going to people's pages on their YouTube and I'm like, oh no, this is a real person. Oh no, this is a real person. This is a real person. I was like, shit. So finally, after doing this for, 30, 40 minutes, I'm like, all right, maybe it works. So let me try it.
Mhm.
So I started listening to the sleep hypnosis on a Tuesday, and by Sunday, I had my most client signups ever by over a 50% increase, right?
Wow.
So it was so weird because clients, obviously, I still put in the work, I was still creating content, but it's like clients were just coming out of the woodworks. Like people I'd previously talked to that didn't sign up, all of a sudden messaged me, and we were getting email. It was just really weird. I'm like, this is this is not normal how this happens. Usually it's like longer conversations before you book people, whatever. So anyways, that was cool. That was great. But at the time, I didn't have a team like I do now to support me and help me. So 50% more clients is awesome, but now I had 50% more work, right?
Mhm.
So you can't sustain that every single week.
More money, more problems.
More money, more problems. Like, oh, this is poor me. God, the
What
extra
a
10
good
grand this week or whatever it was. Like,
good
oh, fuck.
problem, though. Good
Yeah, good.
problem.
It was a good problem to have. So I stopped. The sleep hypnosis was so powerful. I literally stopped. I was like, okay, I got to catch up on this. Well, then a few months went by and I literally had an epiphany. It's like those light bulb moments. And it's funny because there's so many people that I feel like in the internet marketing space and stuff that contrive these weird stories of like, oh, I had an epiphany, but it really wasn't. It was kind of just like they're creating this to be some bullshit story, but this was a real, and you'll understand what I'm saying here in a second. So I had an epiphany. I'm like, dude, why don't I just create my own sleep hypnosis? But I'm going to be very specific about the words and I'm going to make it to where, yes, I can make more money, but I don't want to work more. Essentially, I took what the other hypnotist was saying and I reworded a couple things and then I put it in my own sleep hypnosis.
Mhm.
So this is where it gets weird. So I primarily work with business owners and sales professionals, right? And then I certify people and all that. But like if somebody wants to work with me, those are my target, my ideal client. So all of our clients are business owners, salespeople, and they want to make more money. So when these people started signing up, going through our process, I said, hey, I want you to listen to this recording, listen to it 30 days in a row, right? Cool. So right away, the first week, tons of great feedback. People are commenting like, oh my God, deals are closing. Clients are finally paying their invoices. Money's coming out of nowhere. But then other people were saying that the recording sounded distorted and they couldn't understand it. So my initial thought was, oh shit, I must have messed something up when I was downloading it or when I was creating it. Cause it's like an 8-hour video. So there's, you got to create an induction, you got to put music, you got to put the affirmations, and then you got to download it, upload it. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's because I created it on a MacBook. It doesn't work with Androids, or maybe it only works on an iPhone if you update your phone. I didn't know what it was. I thought the file was corrupted. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I just kind of left it at that. So a client messaged me one day and she goes, Dom, something's wrong with the sleep hypnosis. I said, what's going on? And she goes, well, I could hear it perfectly fine for the first 3 days, but now it sounds distorted. Like I can't understand it. Yeah.
Mm.
Something like, that's weird. Screen record it and send it to me. So she screen records the recording, what she's hearing. She sends it to me. I play it. I can hear it perfectly fine. Right. So I'm like, hey, yeah, I can hear it perfectly fine. I don't know what you're talking about. So about an hour went by and she messaged me back and she goes, Dom, I think I'm going crazy. I'm like, what's going on? And she goes, I just shared your recording with my partner. We're in the same exact room, listening to the same exact thing, and she can hear it perfectly fine, but I can't understand a word.
What's
She
going
said
on?
it sounds like it's in a different language.
Whoa.
So I'm thinking like, this
What
is all new to me.
and how many days has she been listening to it?
3.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was listening for 3 days. I don't know if it was on the 3rd day or 4th day where it started distorting, but 3 days is what she told me. So I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, what the hell? First of all, I'm thinking, is this even real? This seems impossible, right? How is it that you can hear something, you're in a room with somebody, and then like imagine if Eric suddenly couldn't hear me talking right now, he would be thinking he's fucking needs to go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I don't know what's going on. Let's talk about it in our session next week. So we jump on Zoom. I do all my stuff on Zoom, right? I don't do any in person. So I'm like, I got to see this for myself. I'm not just going to take her word for it. Let me check it. So I share my screen, I play the recording, and sure enough, I could hear it perfectly fine, and she can't understand a word. She can read the captions that are on the screen, but
Mhm.
it's not processing auditorily. So I just went with my instincts, and I was like, all right, if her mind is not letting her hear the recording, she must have some resistance or some fear around what is being said in the recording. Like she must have some beliefs about money and success that her subconscious mind doesn't want to accept. Right.
Wow.
So then again, this is all riffing. I don't know what the hell to do. And I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. So I'm like, close your eyes, take a deep breath. I said, now ask your subconscious mind, why are you not letting me hear? And then the first part of the sentence, right? Large sums of passive money. And then she says, whatever, right? Okay, subconscious mind, why are you not letting me hear this part? And then the next part. So all of a sudden we have like 8 or 10 limiting beliefs and fears about money that are causing this distortion. So one by one, we go through, okay, where did this start? Was it when you were a child? Was it a genetic belief that was passed down? Where did it come? We go to remove it, boom, remove. Next one, bam, 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 bam. And 45 minutes later, I play the recording and she can hear it again.
What?
So I'll tell you one more crazy thing. Since then, so I've had like over 2,000 people go through this program.
Mm.
And I've literally had hundreds. It wasn't just like a one-off thing. This phenomena it has happened to hundreds of people. Now, what's interesting as well is it doesn't just happen to people who have money issues. So I've had clients who are, multimillionaires. They'll start listening to it and then like a part of it starts distorting on there. Like, wait, what the fuck? I can't hear this part. Why is this part not, whatever. But what's even crazier, so after this happened, maybe a month or so after, I was I do like group calls, group sessions, group coaching, things like this for personal development. So one day I was like, I'm going to teach everybody how to create an affirmation and also how to create like their own sleep hypnosis so they can listen to their affirmations while they sleep. So I'm like, all right, guys, here's how you create an affirmation. Here's a proper way to structure it. Here's the technology to use. Here's how you do it, right? Now, by the way, I didn't tell them what to say. I just told them how to structure it and tell them what to say, what to do. It's up to them to do it on their own. So people started creating their own affirmations, their own words, their own voice, everything. And within a few days after them listening to it while they're sleeping throughout the night, they couldn't even understand their own voice and their
Oh,
own words. Isn't that
insane.
crazy? And then we'd go through, I'd ask them, hey, why is your mind not letting you hear this? And it would say, whatever. And we go through release the belief, play it again, and boom, they can hear it perfectly fine.
Where do these internal and external beliefs come from? Like, why do people have these? Like, so it sounds like we can choose to adopt them and foster them, but
Mhm.
it's so much harder to get rid of them.
Yeah. So let me answer 2 questions. I know we kind of went off on a tangent. You asked how did Dr. Steve make that happen? Here's how it happened. He listened to that hypnosis recording I gave him.
Mhm.
Now, it didn't distort on him, so it doesn't happen to everybody. But when he was listening to, when you're programming your subconscious mind while you're sleeping, your reticular activating system starts just focusing on whatever you're putting in your mind.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. To answer your second question that you just asked was, how do we adopt these beliefs, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So why do we adopt these beliefs that are limiting and then, we want to get rid of them? Why do they
So
want to get rid of
why we adopt them and how we adopt them is 2 different answers. So I'll give you the why. Why we adopt limiting beliefs is for protection. So we come into this world, we have certain beliefs that are passed down genetically, certain things that we know. We also have certain things that we don't know, right? Like, hey, if I go out in the middle of the street and that giant, silver metal looking thing comes by and it hits me, it's going to kill me. So we have to develop the belief, hey, don't go into the street or else this car is going to kill me, right?
Mhm.
Simple things like this. So first and foremost, our subconscious mind's objective above everything else is always survival. So if we think that, say, example, if I get all this money, my family's going to excommunicate me or they're going to treat me differently. Well, now we're threatening our survival because we're going to be disconnected from our tribe and from our family.
Mhm.
So our brain goes, okay, money's bad, or don't do it because of this or whatever. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So why we adopt the beliefs is for protection. Now, our subconscious mind does not operate from logic. It operates from survival. So your conscious mind, your logical mind could go, well, no, that doesn't make sense. but it doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind will still hold on to these beliefs. Matter of fact, one of the things I'll do at a lot of my live events, I'll do a live demonstration. So the one we just did back in January, this woman had fibromyalgia for, I think, since 2003 or 2006. I
What's
don't
that?
remember. Fibromyalgia is when your body starts, you just feel pain all over.
Oh.
And doctors, they don't know what it is, why it is, whatever, right? By the way, let me back up. Everything I'm about to say right now is all allegedly, okay? This is all fake. This is not real. I'm just making up a story, okay? Anyway, so when we are going through a lot of emotional stuff, our body will start sending us signals. First, it starts off like in our head. Oh, man, I'm stressing, whatever. Then we'll start feeling it in emotionally. Ah, man, I'm anxious. I'm stressed out. I'm angry. Then we'll start feeling it physically. Ah, damn, man. Ah, damn, I got this pain in my chest. I don't know what it's from. And then heart attack or physical pain, right? So anyways, I bring this woman up on stage. She's been to all the doctors, everything. And in a matter of, I don't know, 20 minutes, we get down to what we figured out is, and the story's a little bit cloudy to me now, but she was going through divorce. She had a business, she had kids, the whole thing. And she wasn't like giving herself a break. And so long story short, her body, and this happens a lot to a lot of people, in order for her to take a break, her body basically like, all right, you don't want to take a break? We're going to make you take a break. Boom, here you go. Here's all this pain. You can't do anything. Another client, this was not last year in January, bring this woman up on stage. She also has fibromyalgia, and it's called a breakthrough. So this is what we take people through when they go through sessions with myself or a hypnotherapist, one of my team members. And this is also what I train people to do, right? I certify people. So I bring up this woman on stage, and she's had fibromyalgia for years. It's the same story. I've tried all the pills. I've tried all the doctors. Nothing's working. It's because they're not getting to the root cause of why it's happening. The pills, yeah, they can like numb the pain, but it's not going to heal it, right?
Manage it.
By the way, this is all allegedly. I'm not claiming that I can cure or treat or anything, okay? That's not what I'm saying. All I do is ask people questions, and it leads to strange places. But anyways, so what we discovered is that we got down to the root of it. And these are people that are in like debilitating pain. This ain't like, oh, my neck hurt. Like you're talking your whole body is like in pain 24/7. Yeah, all the time. So we get down to what happened is this woman had a fear of abandonment, and she was afraid that her husband, her family was going to leave her. So she's like, well, now this is all subconsciously, not consciously. Subconsciously, she's like, oh, well, if I'm in pain, they have to take care of me. They can't leave me, right? So then her body gives her all this pain. Now, when we went to the root of it, it was when she was 3 years old, her dad abandoned her and the family.
Okay.
So like she, again, protection, survival. Well, if I'm hurt, my family has to stay with me. They can't leave me. That's protecting me. So now there's a process usually those people have to go through where we call it reframing. We have to get rid of what's called the secondary gain. We have to reframe it in their subconscious to get their subconscious to go, okay, it's okay. You're safe. You're going to be okay if you let go of this pain. In a matter of, again, 20 minutes. That one probably took a little longer, 25 minutes. All of it goes away. So that's why. Now, how is we go through life. So a lot of the beliefs we have are genetically inherited. So our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. Matter of fact, in the Bible, it says something along the lines of the sins of the father will be passed down for 4 generations. What that's actually referring to, at least in my studies, Christians, please don't attack me. I love you guys. What that actually means is the sins of the father are passed down for 4 generations is the traumas and the things that we experience are passed down through our lineage for 4 generations. So if you're a grandfather, let's take a business context. If your grandfather went bankrupt and his business failed and that it not 100% guaranteed that's going to affect you, but that may be something that got passed down to your mom and they got passed down to you. So when you go to be successful in business and you keep having, you're like, fuck, man, no matter how hard I try, nothing fucking works. And it's just roadblocks. So that's how it's either genetic or, again, from the time we're born to 7, we're grasping at everything, right? We're shaping our beliefs. So our parents, our friends, family members, the television, our teachers, everything is shaping our belief system. So that's how is based off our life experience.
That's incredible.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. I'm so glad I'm documenting all of this.
Yeah, right?
This is great. Now, obviously, when they're with you, they have instructions from you. Now, how do you train them to redirect their thoughts? So that way,
train our clients, you're saying?
Yeah. So how do you help them redirect their thoughts? Like when they leave you, what instructions do you give them so that way they don't go back to the old them?
Yeah. So one of to go back to your previous question that ties into this one of the reasons why a limiting belief is created, it's the perspective that we're observing these events from. So everything in life is neutral.
Mhm.
Okay. There's no such thing as a good event. There's no such thing as a bad event. Everything is neutral. The only thing that makes it good or bad is your perspective. So take a war. We won't say it just in case it's on YouTube or something, but like take a war in another country. Is it good or bad? Depends on who you ask. The guys that are making the bombs are like, oh, thank God for this war. I'm making billions of dollars.
Yeah.
The people that the bombs are being dropped on, not so good. So is it good or bad? It's neither. It's neutral. What makes it good or bad is our perspective. So what happens in life, we go through a life experience, a breakup, a business failure, we get rejected, anything. This neutral event happens to us, and we have to either go, is this good or is this bad? Now, what are we naturally trained to do? What do we naturally go to first?
What
This
we
is
think.
bad.
This is bad,
This
yeah.
sucks. Oh my God, why me? Right? So as soon as we place a negative meaning to this neutral experience, what then happens is one will attach negative emotions to it, meaning, okay, I got in a car accident. This is bad. I'm so pissed off. So now we've attached anger to the situation, right?
Mm.
Then that can also start to reshape our beliefs. Oh man, don't ever drive on the road again because people don't know what they're doing or, whatever. So until we go back and we revisit these memories that we once saw as negative or a bad experience, until we do that, those memories will keep affecting us and they will control how we live our lives.
Mm.
So have you ever been driving on the freeway, again, kind of the freeway example, and you're in a great mood, you're like vibing out, you're like, oh yeah. And then boom, you see like a billboard, a song comes on and it reminds you of like your ex or
Yes.
your, right?
Yes,
We've
yes.
all done that. And then what happens? You're like,
Your mood is affected.
fuck, damn it.
You go back to that
You go back
memory.
to the memory or the failure or whatever, and then now you're put in a negative emotion. So what's happening in that moment when you're driving, you go into trance. When we're in trance, our subconscious mind opens up and it starts giving us all this unresolved stuff. So it's basically saying, hey, Erica, remember that thing that you sucked at in high school? Yeah, yeah. Okay. You
So
still haven't
horrible.
resolved this. Here you go.
Man, that has happened to me so many times before,
All
but
the
I
time.
have no reason to think about it. All of a sudden, I start thinking about that one thing that happened many years ago that's not even relevant to my life
Yeah,
today.
here's how you resolve it. This is so simple. One of our subconscious mind's prime directives, or its jobs, we'll say, is to learn. Okay. So if you say, this is bad, this sucks because of XYZ, you now attach negative emotions, you attach limiting beliefs. And then what your subconscious mind will do is it'll repress that memory, meaning it shoves it down for later. Okay, we got to go live life now. We can't just sit here and cry about our car accident all day. We got to feed the kids. So we're going to just log it in the back. And then next time you're driving to work, go, here you go.
Mm.
So one of the subconscious mind's prime directive is to learn. So how you get rid of the negative emotions and you reframe those beliefs is you ask yourself, what positive lessons did I get from this experience?
Mm.
And when you reframe it, now here's really important. How you reframe it has to be said positively.
Okay.
So it can't be, don't trust people on the road. No, 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 no. That's a negative in the car accident scenario, right? That's a negative learning. So what you would say is, hey, pay more attention to where I'm going.
Yeah.
Simple, right? So that's the positive learning. The first one is a negative learning. So you have to state it in the positive, meaning, again, if it's like, oh, don't trust people. No, hey, trust myself, trust my intuition, make sure I do my due diligence on people if you're doing business with them, right?
Mm.
And then also you want to state your learnings in the first person. So I, me, myself,
Mm.
right? Instead of you, yours, yourself. Because anytime we talk in you, yourself, we're disassociating from what we're actually saying.
Mm.
So watch, try this out or give this a go. So I want you to say, we're going to do two statements. I want you to pay attention to how you feel when you say them. Okay. So I want you to say, you are powerful.
You are powerful.
Now say, I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Now, did you pay attention to how you felt?
I felt stronger the second time I said it.
Exactly. When you said it the first time, it was almost like you probably didn't even feel anything
Mm-hmm.
because you're disassociating. You're saying you. So you want to make sure that the lessons are positive, they're first person, and it's how you're going to apply the lessons moving forward in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily like what was good about it back then. It can be that, but it's more so like, hey, how do I use these lessons moving forward? And then what the subconscious mind does is go, oh, Okay, got it, Erica. That's why we went through this experience. That's what we got from it. Okay, cool. No need to feel sad about this or mad about this or whatever. Now we can let it go. So it's the same thing in sports. They say you either win or you learn. Because if you lose, you internalize that loss. So it's
Mhm.
either win. Okay, if you technically, obviously, there's a winner and loser, but you go, okay, what did I learn from this game? What did I learn from this experience? And when you do that, you can let go of those losses as they come up rather than going into the next game thinking about, oh man, I lost that last game. So it's the same thing in life. You just look at what are the positive lessons and then boom, you let it go.
Tony Robbins talks about that. He talks about focus and state
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
how you really do get what you focus on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, when people are skeptical about hypnosis or they think, oh, it works for, I'm the special snowflake that it doesn't work on, right? I'm gonna give you 100% proof that hypnosis works on anybody and everybody. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. If you want me to give you 100% proof that hypnosis will work for anybody and everybody, okay? Hit the like button. So here's proof. Not you, not Eric, somebody else, this imaginary person. Okay. I created an 8-hour sleep hypnosis for them, and they're going to listen to it every night for the next month. Okay. And all it said in this 8-hour sleep hypnosis was they're going to get in a car wreck. They're going to get in a car wreck. They're going to get in a car wreck. And they just listen to that every night on loop for 8 hours a night. Every day they're watching videos of car wreck after car wreck after car wreck. What do you think would eventually happen to that person?
They're going to get in a car wreck.
They're going to get into a car wreck,
Yeah.
right? So now the reason I said this imaginary person is because I don't want either of you to internalize that. So I'm creating this person that doesn't exist because
Right.
if I say it to you, then you might, that seed, but we just delete that out of your mind and you'll be fine. So here's the thing. If it works to attract the negative things, it also works to attract the positive things.
Mhm.
So if you're listening to something that's saying, hey, an abundance of clients are coming to me, I've even used this for things that are seemingly outside of your control. Like as an example, I created a hypnosis recording around making my Instagram videos go viral.
Mhm.
And literally, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks later, I had a video that got like 2 million views and I've never got that ever. And all my other videos were getting like 40, 50, 100,000 views, 200,000 views. And it was just like, I just put it. And what happens is maybe there is some esoteric part of it, like the quantum field and all that. And I know there is a lot to that, but let's even take that out of the picture. What happened was because I was in that mindset of, okay, I'm going to create viral content. People are going to love da, 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 da. Now, like the right idea, the right camera angle, the right way to set it up, either thought of it or downloaded it, or however it came to me. And I created a video and now that video goes viral. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's not like, oh, some esoteric thing that I'll give you another example. The other day, a client sent me a screenshot. I never met this guy. He just went through that program I was telling you about. So never talked to him, never met him. He's like, dude, I just want to send you this and say thank you so much. And it was a stock account he had that like, it went from like 25,000 to like 217,000 in like a little bit over a year, right?
Amazing.
So did him listening to that recording, did it make his stock go up? No, that's not necessarily how it worked. But what it did do is it caused him to be in the mindset to pick the right stock. Not only to pick it, but to stay in it, right? Because if somebody's in scarcity all the time, they think things aren't going to work for them. When they go to pick a stock, they pick the wrong one. Or maybe they pick the right one, but they're in such scarcity that they get out of it before it goes up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's not like some esoteric thing where it's like, oh, I listened to this and then all of a sudden this stock went up and all these people made money. No, it's like you got in the right one and you stayed in the right one. So that is 100% proof that hypnosis works for everybody. It's just you get what you focus on.
That's incredible. So what would be the number one tip you have for really switching somebody? Like you just had to give one tip, switching somebody from lack to an abundance mindset.
One tip to switch somebody from a lack into an abundance mindset. It wouldn't be like do this thing, this one thing. Like, oh, if you just meditate every single day, this is what I would say. If you want to have abundance mindset and you want to create success in every area of your life, the most important thing to do first is you have to identify and remove your subconscious barriers and blocks that are keeping you stuck in the same paradigm that you're in. Because here's another, we talked about the manifestation thing earlier, 90% of manifestation is intention. One of the reasons why people have trouble manifesting is because they want this thing, But then there's these beliefs that say, no, just like the sleep hypnosis, perfect example. So many people are working so hard. They're I want more money, more money. But the subconscious mind is like, you're not good enough to do that. You don't deserve it, or you have to work hard to deserve it, or it can't come easy. It has to be a struggle. It has to take a long time. You're not good enough to be. So if you just you're only focused on what you want and where you're going and the outcomes rather than the barriers and the blocks that are getting there, that are keeping you from getting there, it's going to take you a lot longer. You can still get there, it'll take you a lot longer. So the metaphor I always give to people is this, right? I say, okay, let's pretend you have two cars. They're going to race. They're going to do a 1 mile race, point A to point B, straight shot. Okay. Car on the left-hand side is a Lamborghini. Car over here is a 1988 Toyota Camry. Okay. Which car is going to get there faster?
Lamborghini.
Depends. Depends what's on that track, right?
Ah, okay.
Because if every 20 feet there's a roadblock, the Toyota Camry is full straight shot, no blocks. But every 20 feet, this car has a roadblock. Toyota Camry's going to get there faster.
Yeah.
So do we need to focus on souping up the Lamborghini? Do we need to make it faster? Do we need to make it the engine better and the whatever? I don't know cars, so we'll supercharge or whatever. No, that ain't going to do shit.
Clear the
what
road.
you actually want to do is clear the road first. And then you can get from point A to point B in a fraction of the time. The challenge is most people don't want to do self-reflection. They don't know how to do it. And they're just trying to constantly add, when really the first thing you got to do is remove. I just made a video about this the other day. Like if you have a business coach. So last year when I was scaling my company, I hired somebody, and it was funny because, and he gave me a lot of great advice, and it was great. He had taught me a lot of things that I needed to do that I still do to this day that has helped me tremendously. But what's funny is every single time I would have a coaching call with him, I would get so stressed out and anxious. Be like, fuck, I got to talk to so-and-so this week. I'm like, and sometimes I'd even be like, I can't make it this week, right? And you want to know why?
Why?
Because every single time I got on that call with him, he would always tell me what to add. You got to add this. You got to add more. You got to add more. I'm like, bro, I'm already at max capacity. How do I add more?
No more bandwidth.
No more bandwidth. So what is the proper way to do it is say, okay, before we start adding, what do we need to remove? What can we remove from your plate right now that'll free up the energy to go out and have success with what you're doing? And that's where a lot of people go wrong with the manifestations and all this other stuff is like, they're just adding. Okay, let me add. And here's another thing that will happen when it comes to manifestations, things like this. If you don't do the internal work, if you don't clear out your past traumas or your shadow or whatever the hell people want to call it, you may start to have that success. What's going to happen though, is it's going to amplify any unresolved stuff that you have. Mm-hmm. So you ever hear about somebody who gets a bunch of money and they're just a fucking asshole?
Yeah.
They're just like become this, well, guess what? He was an asshole before he had the money.
Just amplified him.
Money is just money, attention, whether it's social media attention from people, whatever. All this is just a source of energy. So that energy coming through the neurology is going to amplify any unresolved traumas. This is why often when you ever heard of people using the manifestation technique where you squeeze your PC muscles and you draw up the Christos or the fluid in your spine from the bottom to the top and you send it out.
That.
You never heard of that? Okay.
No.
So this is a very common practice. It's even like in tantric sex and things like this where you separate ejaculation from orgasm. You draw the orgasm up your spine and you send it out of your pineal gland, right? Well, here's the challenge with that. If you do too much of that, are you familiar with your chakras?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have chakras on the front of our body. We also have corresponding chakras on the back. Well, our chakras store a lot of our unhealed trauma and things like this. So if I have, again, we have 7, 2 on the top and then 5 in the middle here. If I'm sending all this energy through the spine and I have all this unresolved shit, what's going to happen? All that stuff's going to come to the surface and it's all going to hit people at once. And This is where people's lives can completely fall apart. So point is, the number one thing I would say is you got to clear shit out. You got to remove stuff before you add stuff. And when you do that, often just by removing things, it's like a governor in a car. You don't if the governor hits, you don't press the gas harder and go faster. No, you just remove the governor and boom, you go faster.
What's an exercise you would recommend to people to really identify and start removing those?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do with clients, I actually have a video on YouTube. This will only identify like one area, but this will be something to give people. And this is something that I don't like to say I necessarily created it. I guess you could say I founded it, or I don't know, because it was probably already there in the ether. I just picked up on it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I started doing with clients is I would have them fill in the blank. You want to actually do it?
Sure.
Okay. So take a deep breath in, close your eyes, breathe out, relax your mind, relax your body. Take another deep breath in, hold it, keep holding it, keep holding it. And as you breathe out, release any tension in your shoulders, any stress. Just let your shoulders droop down. That's right. Take one more deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just allow your breathing to return to normal as you go deeper and deeper, more and more relaxed. And as you're sitting there listening to my voice with your eyes closed, breathing in and out of your lungs, your subconscious mind is now open to communicate. By the way, anybody that's watching this can also do the exact exercise we're about to do right now. So, Erica, I'm going to ask you a question, or I'm going to say a statement, and I just want you to fill in the blank. Okay, whatever the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay,
Mhm.
so I want you to fill in the blank. I'm not good enough to, or I'm not good enough for. What's the first thought that comes to you?
I'm not good enough to teach women how to sell. I'm not good enough for running a webinar and teaching women how to sell.
Okay, I'm not good enough to, I'm not good enough for.
I am not good enough to coach people.
Okay,
I am not good enough for coaching.
good. What else? I'm not good enough to, I'm not good enough for.
Mm, I am not good enough to start my own coaching business. I am not good enough for starting my own coaching business.
Good. Anything else come to mind?
No.
Okay, open your eyes. What's today's date?
It's the 18th?
Perfect. So now that is an exercise to simply identify what your limiting beliefs are. Now, you and I had a conversation out in the parking lot. I had a feeling this would come up at some point when you were talking about building a team in real estate, right?
Mhm.
When we when we want to break through to new levels of success, which you sounds like you want to start coaching people in sales and in doing webinars, right? Or
Yes.
women.
Mhm.
So now you're going, it's like new levels, new devils, right? So when you break through the ceiling of whatever you were before, we don't realize that there's these new beliefs that we have because we just weren't pushing ourselves to that limit. So what will often happen when we want to scale, whether it's building a team, building a company, doing webinar sales, doing one-to-many, like you and I were talking about before, there's all these new beliefs that we have to break through. So that is simply identifying it, right? Now, I'll share with you a quick story. Last year in February, I did my first in-person hypnosis certification ever.
Mhm.
It was great, amazing. Then I did my second one in June, I think it was. And as I'm teaching this class of people, I'm walking around and I'm just getting frustrated with everybody. I'm like, fuck, they're just not getting it. And this is kind of complex stuff for people to really understand and internalize. So I'm walking around the room and I just hear this voice in my head, like, I don't want to be here. This is not worth it. Go back to what I was doing before, da 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 da, right? Just like screaming at me. So anytime I feel frustration, hesitation, or I hear that loud, like, you can't do it, you're not going to, I always reflect and I'll do what I call my breakthrough process. So I'm walking around getting frustrated and I sat down. I said, hey, class, I have something interesting to tell you. I said, as I was walking around listening to you, I was getting really frustrated. And I thought to myself, what the fuck am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not for me. Just go back to what I was doing before. I said, so anytime that happens, I always do a breakthrough on myself. Do you guys want to witness and do a breakthrough on me together? Like, yeah, okay. So I closed my eyes and it's basically a list of questions you ask yourself in a particular way. And one person asked the first question, second, third, and we were around the whole room. And the belief that I discovered was I believed that I was good enough to be the student, but I wasn't good enough to be the teacher.
Mm.
Right. Which is
Mhm.
like, I kind of, And the thing is, if you would have asked me that 5 minutes prior, I could have never told you that. I didn't know that I had that belief, but there's certain questions we have to ask to bring this up to the surface. And then I removed the belief, and now every time I do training, it's amazing. So, point is, last year, or say 2 years ago, when I was just maybe me doing sessions or me running my team, I didn't even know I had that belief because I wasn't put in a position to have to be pushed to that limit to even recognize that it was there. Does
You
that
have
make
to
sense?
experiment.
Well, yes, it's experimenting. Yes. You mean, okay, what do you mean by that?
So, like, you actually have to go through the motion and the action. You actually have to execute on it.
Yes. So we would call it pushing yourself to your limits. So how do you find out your limits?
You do it.
You go to the limit. So yes, you're exactly right. You experiment. And what happens is when new levels, new devils. So the reason why constant self-reflection is so important, like I said, the number one thing is because 3 years ago, I didn't know that I was going to have these beliefs about I can't speak or nobody will come see me in Vegas and da, 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 da. I had to put myself in that position to be even aware of that. So if you don't want to grow and you're happy with just staying, I don't want to say stagnant, but because it's not always stagnant. Sometimes people are just happy with where they're at. You often won't have to do this kind of work because you're not pushing yourself to the limits.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, do you want to remove that belief? I can't just leave you hanging like that.
I would love to
Okay.
remove that belief.
So,
I'm like, please.
by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, type in the comments if you did the exercise. So very quickly, the exercise is this. So, you listen to your subconscious mind fill in the blank. And you say, I'm not good enough to, I'm not good enough for, and then boom, whatever answer you have, you want to write it down or something, right? So if you did this on YouTube, go in the comments, write down what your not good enough was. That way you remember it and we can see it as well. Okay, so there was two. So I don't know if these are the same belief or different. So one was, I'm not good enough to teach women sales.
Yes. And it's actually not related to real estate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I want to teach women how to sell like their product. What are they trying to sell? Like, what barriers do you have that, like, why is your product not selling? And I can
Gotcha.
teach you how to sell that. But of course, I am a great student. But just like you, I feel maybe I'm not a good teacher. But I have to go through it. I have never actually put myself in that position.
Yeah. So that's where the pain comes in. But it's good. It builds us.
This is the most painful podcast ever.
Really? Yeah.
You're making me address the pain.
Yeah, right. Well, it's when we get to those limits, right? It's like we have to stretch ourselves. So close your eyes. There we go. Now, I want you to just say this in your head and then tell me the answer you get out loud. So just say, subconscious mind, is it okay to release the belief that I'm not good enough to coach women on how to sell?
You want me to say it out loud or just say it in my head still?
Say it in your head and let me know the answer out loud.
And what my subconscious is telling me on what it is?
Is saying, yes, it's okay to release it, or no, or is it unsure?
Unsure.
Unsure, huh? Okay, so open your eyes. So here's why therapy usually doesn't work for people. Here's why, no offense to your friend you mentioned earlier, life coaching often doesn't work. Here's why reading books often doesn't work. Here's why manifestation often doesn't work, is this. If your subconscious mind is not ready to let go of whatever the belief is, I don't care how much you read. I don't care how much it won't go away. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what's called the secondary gain. We have to figure out, why does my subconscious mind even want to hold on to it? Like I said, with the woman who had the pain because her dad abandoned her, when I asked her if she wanted to let it go, she said no. Well, because if I let it go, then I'm gonna lose my family. So once we were able to reframe it, then boom, the beliefs will go away like butter. But until that distinction is made, until it's 100% on board, nothing will work. This is why you see people go to therapy for years and years and years and nothing changes. Life coach gave you the best advice in the world. But if subconsciously your mind's like, no, I don't want to do that, I'm afraid to let that go, it won't work. So close your eyes. So here's how we do it. I want you to say, subconscious mind, why do you want to hold on to this belief that you're not good enough to coach women and not good enough to coach women in sales?
Subconscious mind, why do you want to hold on to this belief that I'm not good enough to coach women in sales?
What did it say?
It didn't say it clearly, but it's because maybe I won't teach them well.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So close your eyes. So what are you afraid is going to happen? Like, you're like, okay, I got to hold on to this belief because I'm afraid this might happen.
I'm afraid that what I teach them won't work.
Gotcha. And then that'll come back on to you and make you feel like what?
I feel like I lost the lamb.
Gotcha. Lost the lamb?
Lost the lamb.
Oh yeah. I know that feeling when when you're a coach or a teacher, you want everybody to get it. You want it to work, right? So, okay, good. So close your eyes. What's going to happen if you continue to hold on to this belief?
I will never teach these women.
Yeah, they'll never learn anything.
They'll never learn anything.
So it's like you're afraid of them not learning, but actually by holding on to the belief, that's what's causing them to not learn from you.
It's true.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So when you let go of that belief, what will happen instead?
I will move forward and teach them.
Yeah,
And
and
help them
and
change
and
their
for sure
lives.
they're gonna learn something and they're
Mhm.
gonna improve, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now your subconscious mind is realizing, wait a minute, holding on to this belief isn't helping me to avoid them not learning. Actually, this belief is what's holding me back from teaching them and them learning and enjoying the fruits of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, ask your subconscious mind, is it okay to release the belief that I'm not good enough to teach women in sales and for me to be aware of it consciously?
Subconscious mind, is it okay that I release the belief that I'm not good enough to teach women how to sell
And for me
and,
to be aware of it consciously?
and for me to be aware of it consciously? Yes.
Is that 100%?
Yes.
Okay, I want to share something with you before I forget. So Kate, you know Kate, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we did a session and we recorded it. This is the only reason I'm saying it because she gave me permission to do it. Now, a couple months back, she wanted to do her personal branding stuff, but she didn't realize she had a belief that she's not good enough to do it on her own. She
Mm-hmm.
always had to be partnered with somebody, and it, mom stuff and all that,
How long
whatever.
ago was this?
It's like 3 months, 4 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little longer. I don't remember. But guess what happened a week later?
What?
She
Started moving full force.
by herself. And I just messaged her this morning, or we were talking this morning, and she's like, oh my God, my business is like literally about to completely explode. And that was the only belief that we did. Now, is it a coincidence? No, it ain't no fucking coincidence. When you remove these beliefs, things start changing. You start living your life in a whole different way. So I say that as a little bit of inspiration to you, knowing that when we release this belief right now, that your entire world is going to open up. Does that make sense?
It makes
Okay, so
sense.
close your eyes. This is the last part. Subconscious mind. What's the root cause of the belief I'm not good enough to teach women to sell? Was it before, during, or after my birth?
You said before, during, or after my birth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay.
And what do you got?
After.
Okay, close your eyes. Are you sure, or was it sooner?
Sooner.
Oh, keep your eyes closed. Was it before your birth or during your birth?
Mm. I want to say before.
Okay, was it a past life or was it passed down genetically?
Oh my gosh. It's genetically.
If you were to know, how many generations ago?
I want to say two.
Okay, so dad side, mom side,
Mom's side.
grandma or grandpa?
Grandma.
Okay, so what's going to happen now if it hasn't already? Your subconscious mind is going to start to give you memories. It may be a specific moment in time or a general understanding of what was going on with your grandmother at the time. So whenever you have the event, let me know whenever you have it.
Okay.
Do you want to share what it is or is it too personal?
I can share it.
Okay.
So my mom was adopted
Okay.
from a really poor area in Taiwan, and she was given up by parents that obviously didn't want her. So I personally think that my mother's mother was too busy in survival mode
Mm-hmm.
and was maybe not focusing on selling, but just doing factory work.
So, and feel free to reject this if it's not correct, not correct. You said your grandmother gave your mom up for adoption
So my mother was adopted. So I think
by
her
your grandmother.
by my actual grandmother. So I'm going back to blood grandmother.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, blood. So I don't know. I don't know her. So I'm thinking that she was too busy she was
Your
too
blood
busy.
grandmother.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't know my blood grandmother.
No, I know. You don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that she was too busy working in a factory in survival mode. Maybe she wasn't able to
Well,
learn the
well,
skills.
what do parents do to children? They teach them, don't they?
They teach them.
But she gave up her child. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So is it, and again, if it's not correct, you said not correct, but is it partially what you're saying? She's working on factory stuff. She's not focused on selling, but also she wasn't there to teach her daughter, which is the same thing as you wanted to teach women.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So now look at your grandmother from a third person perspective, like you're watching it happen, and ask your subconscious mind, what positive lessons can I take from this experience with your grandmother that will allow you to let go of the belief you're not good enough to teach women how to sell?
That it's a skill that can be learned.
Good. What else?
I don't have to foster it.
Positive, positive. I
Mhm.
don't have to foster it. That's a negative learning, right?
I can foster any skill.
Good. What else?
If I teach them to sell, they will change their life.
Good. Anything else?
No,
All right. Thank your subconscious mind for learning. Store the learnings. Check on the feelings. Are they there or are they gone?
they're gone.
All right. Go down into the event, seeing it through your own eyes. Check on the feelings again. Are they there or are they gone?
It's neutral. They're
All right.
gone.
Flow back out. And I'd like your subconscious mind to begin to make your way back throughout your lifetime, all the way back to now, only as quickly as you can let go of all the events that cause you to believe you're not good enough to teach women how to sell, all the way back to now. As you come across each event, see yourself in the events, preserve the positive lessons, let go of all the events, all the way back to now.
Okay.
And are there any other events you need to let go of?
No.
All right, now I want you to imagine you're in the future. If I used to get pissed when people would cut me off, you can open your eyes. If I used to get mad when people would cut me off on the freeway, right? But I clear that out and then I put myself in that same position. Am I visualizing still getting mad when people cut me off, or is it gone?
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now, are you good enough to teach women how to sell?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, yes.
Congratulations. So how do you feel now?
I feel good. I
Now, do
feel
you see how that genetic memory that you had no idea, that could have never thought in a million? No, number one, identifying what the belief is. Often, I don't know, 50% of the time, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. Just knowing is half the battle. So often when people could just realize, oh, I have this negative belief, it'll go away on its own.
mm,
But in your case, when we asked permission, it was resistance. So that's the second thing you have to do is find out, okay, can I even let this go? If it's not, then you got to reframe it. And the third thing is you got to go to the root, not what happened last week, not what happened when you were 12, like go to the root of it. And then you pull the roots out so that weed doesn't grow back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So and now when you're in that position, you will feel totally aligned that you are good enough to teach women how to sell and things will start moving in that direction.
I can't wait to call Kate.
Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
that's how easy it is. It's so easy. I mean, it's easy and it's very profound because again, people are walking through life with all these beliefs. I'm not good enough to make the money I want to make. I don't deserve love. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be healthy. Da 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 da. And it's creating their experience. So you start clearing all that stuff out. Like this is how we help people like Dr. Steve have 50% increase in a month, or I've had people just completely go from, barely getting by to multi-millions, right? In the matter of year, 2 years. So, yeah, it's certainly possible.
That's incredible. I mean, so you've given so much information, knowledge, and it is obvious why you are an expert and
Thank
industry
you.
leader in hypnotism.
Yeah.
So let me ask you 3 questions.
Yeah.
First question is, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and how will that impact the lives of other people?
Yeah. So, it's funny. If you had asked me this 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said I'd be where I'm at now because I've been doing this March 3rd, March 5th, it'll be 6 years. I couldn't even envision myself having live events where hundreds of people will come out and all that. So to be honest, I don't know. However, what I will say is I would say that doing what I'm doing now, just on a bigger level. So maybe instead of a couple hundred people coming to events, maybe it's 1,000 or a couple thousand. And really, so the level I'm at now is where it's like teach the people, right? Not just do the sessions anymore. It's like, how do I create more of people like myself so that because now this, every person, like we just did that with you. You may not realize how much of an impact that's going to have on your spouse, your children. I don't know if you have kids, but like you stepping into this new role is going to have a ripple effect, right? Well, if I can teach somebody how to do what I do to now multiple people, now we can have a much bigger ripple effect.
Mhm.
So it's just doing what I do now at a higher level, more people, more impact, I would say. And you never know though, who knows? Like I said, 5 years ago, I didn't even envision this. It was kind of the pieces to the puzzle kind of came as I went on. So,
But you answered the call,
Oh yeah.
and you went through the
Even
refusal
though
of the call.
even though sometimes it's painful, like last year, I did two of my events, and between my second and third event, I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to do live event. With live events, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of, well, now it's not as much because the stress and everything, but you're doing something for have you ever thrown a birthday party for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
For myself,
Yeah,
yes.
right. And you invite a bunch of people, right? What are
Mm.
you thinking like leading up to it?
I hope people come.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So imagine that on like a scale where you have, I don't know, 5 to 6 figures paid out and you're like, oh fuck, I hope people come. So the stress is like, it's not anymore. So anyways, I got to a point where I'm like, man, do I even need to do all this? Like I could just go back to what I was doing before and have tons of success, a lot of freedom, and I don't have to deal with this. And that was the scarcity scared version of me that was like, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe it's not for me. Da, 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 da. But then, thank God I know how to do this stuff and I can go in and like to quiet that part of me. And yeah, and I just now there's no turning back. But people will go through that. And it's called you ever heard the emotional cycle of change?
No.
So emotional cycle of change, like, so imagine I have a little like wave like this, okay?
Mhm.
And let's say that let's say there's a line that goes through the bottom half of the line of like negative emotions. The top half is excitement. So
Okay.
here's despair, here's excitement. So if I have a line that goes like this, when people start a new opportunity, their excitement's really high,
Mhm.
right? So it's what we call uninformed optimism. So what does that mean? They're excited because they don't know what they're about to do.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's going to take. So after people get into it, they start to realize, oh shit, this is a little bit harder than I thought.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll push through. Then they get into what's called informed pessimism. It's like you're informed, you know all the bad stuff that comes along with this, and then that persists a little bit longer, and people get down to what's called the valley of despair. This is why
Mhm.
most people don't have success. They get to the valley of despair, which is like, oh, this isn't working. I spent all this money, I spent all this time, da, 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 da. And then what do most people do? They start a new opportunity.
Yeah.
They quit and they go, oh, I'm going to go be a stock trader now, or I'm going to be a this now. And then before you know it, 5 years later, they've done like 80 different things, right? So in the valley of despair is when you really have to buckle down. You really have to pay attention to your self-talk and your personal development and everything, because beyond that is success.
Yes.
So last year in probably June, July, I was in the fucking valley of despair and I was like, dude, I don't know, this is all the same people. And I said, no, success is on the other side, persisted through it. And now we're home free. So just, if you experience that, which most people do when they're doing something new, you just got to see it all the way through. When you do, you'll look back and go, oh, thank God. So yeah, that's where I'd see myself in 5 years.
I love
Answering
it.
the call. Yep.
Wow, yeah, answer the call and then get people past the refusal.
Yes.
I
Exactly.
love that. So you are you're the modern day Bilbo Baggins?
Yeah. Or
No,
no,
you're the modern day
now I'm the
Gandalf.
Gandalf, right? Yeah.
Gandalf. It helps that he has a beard too.
Right. Yeah.
Second question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to people to intentionally improve their life?
So in life, we're either at cause or we're at the effect for everything that happens. Okay. So what I mean by that, when you're at cause, we take full responsibility for everything that happens and how we react. When we're at the effect, it's always his fault, her fault, the government's fault, my mom's fault, my dad's fault. Okay. Now, the challenge is when you're at the effect, when it's always something outside of you, there's nothing you give your power away to whatever that is, and there's nothing you can do to change.
Mm.
Okay. So when you take responsibility for everything that happens to you, and I mean literally everything, it gives you a sense of power that you can do something about it. So, and when I say everything, I'm talking you get into a car accident, it's your fault. Now, for insurance purposes, if they hit you, it's their fault.
Yeah.
But you've got to go into your mind and go, why the hell did I create this experience of this car accident? What's going on internally that put me in this position that created this scenario? And you'd be surprised that when you do that, you will find that we do all manifest these scenarios, the car accidents, the bad relationships, the failures, the whatever. And the thing is, though, until you're willing to accept that and accept full responsibility for not only the things that happen to us, also the things that how we respond to them, if you don't do that, nothing will work. So I will never I'll take on a client if they're like, I'll give you an example. So just so you can understand the distinction. Okay. So this is years ago. I had a client who came to me and she's like, oh, my life sucks. My life is going the way it is. My business is going the way it is because my ex-husband manipulates me all the time. And you don't understand, Dom. He's just such a good manipulator. He just always manipulates me, blah, 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 blah. Now, is she at cause or is she at the effect?
She's at the effect.
She's at the effect. She's saying the reason my life sucks is because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped her. I said, okay, is it that he's a good manipulator or are you just easily manipulated?
Yeah, she's
There's
easily,
a difference.
Yeah.
One is it's his fault. There's nothing I can do. The other one is, oh, wait a minute. I'm the one that's allowing this to happen. And once she
Mm,
got it, I said, you're allowing the manipulation to happen.
yeah.
So guess what? Just as easily as you can allow it, you can just as easily not allow it. And guess what happened after that? Manipulation stopped. Isn't that funny?
That easy.
It's that easy. So it's always taking that perspective. You said something about the intention and it's taking the perspective of, you know what? When I have a bad communication with somebody on my team, my spouse, often our initial reaction is, it's like, no. Is like in our line of work, we say there's no such thing as a bad client, just that we're not communicating properly. So
Mm.
if somebody doesn't get something, I can't go, it's their fault. They're not getting it. I got to go, no. How do I change my language in such a way that they can understand it? And when you have that perspective, that's how you create it. So that's what I would say. Always take responsibility
Oh,
for everything.
I like that.
Yeah.
The last question is, what are you grateful for?
The first thing that came to my mind is just my family, my fiance, my kids. Yeah, they're definitely the source of a lot of my joy. And, I think everybody does this no matter what degree of success we have. I think we all kind of get into like get ungrateful or we only see the problems or whatever. But man, I live a pretty fucking amazing life. I get to do what I love every day. Now, does that mean that everything that I do, I love? For sure not. Like answering emails or, I don't do a lot of that stuff, but anything like that, the tedious stuff is like, ugh. But this is amazing, right? I get to do what I love. I get to help a lot of people, make a great amount of money doing it. And yeah, and my whole life is just really, and I'm healthy and everything's great. So I'm pretty fortunate, I guess you could say, because but when I, at one point, I wasn't like that. So I'm grateful for the lessons and the journey for sure.
I love it. I mean, yeah, you got to be. So, what I love about your answer is you're grateful for the things that you have today so you can be grateful for the things you get tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dom, where can people find you?
Just Dom the Hypnotist on any platform. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, just type in Dom the Hypnotist. You'll find me on there. Yeah, and people can. I'll give you links for all that stuff or whatever. If people are wanting to, they're like, oh, you're a business owner, you're a sales professional. You're like, I need to remove these mental blocks. I need to go. I want to make more money. I want to have more success. And sometimes maybe it's not making more money. Maybe it's like, hey, I want to make money and like what you're doing, you're transitioning into like a new kind of thing, right? It's not necessarily about the money. It's like, I want to be a coach. I want to do this. Yeah, they could book a free assessment with my team. One of my so I have a team of certified hypnotherapists that do my consultations, do sessions, so they could work with either me or somebody on my team. I'll give you the links for that as well. So
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include it in the show notes so you guys can easily find him. Dom, thank you so much for coming on the show and dropping
yeah,
all
and
these bombs.
if I have this on my channel, where can people find you?
Obviously YouTube, Erica LeMarr, and then you can find me on my Instagram. It's currently for real estate at Erica LeMarr. And then if you are interested in moving to Las Vegas, my YouTube channel is at Living Life in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Cool. I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, Dom, thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
the
thanks for
show
having
and
me.
then
This is
just
great.
giving
You get me talking, I
incredible
don't shut up.
information.
So thanks.
I loved it. Awesome. Well, hey, until next time, guys, have a good one.